What's good with YouTube? You already know, Big Flacco from a convict's perspective, and I'm gonna smash, dash, slide on through with a little bit of energy. Please hit the like, subscribe, comment, do all those things to help support this channel, and hit that bell notification for future fire content. Now, as you can tell by the title and thumbnail, I'm gonna talk about a time, late 80s, early 90s, when there was a lot of differences, right, about how individuals from down south like LA and Santa Barbara, Ventura, San Diego, and all those areas viewed those that were from up north that were banging Sud or Southside. See, the original Southsiders from down south, right? You know, they weren't the Bicep generation that came up later on. A lot of them were actually Chicano groups, Vados Hombre Locos, VST, and whatnot. Now, in prison at that time, a lot of individuals did not really look at the upstate Southsiders, which was not even a name at the time. They used to call themselves Sureños or Southsiders, on equal playing field in the prison or on the streets amongst Southsiders. A lot of times when they got sent to yards, they would have to be on frontline status, the first to go. But it also depended on what yard you went to. Okay? There were some that would treat them with the utmost respect. There were some that would treat them with a lot of disrespect. Now, this is coming from a few upstaters that were part of the movement and the first Southsiders that were created in the early 80s. Now, this story is kind of crazy. It happened in 1990. There was an individual named Mike Tyson, they called him. He was from VST, Vario Sudtown, Vario Sud 13. VST's been a long time. One time someone were looked at as Vickystown, but VST was basically its own entity. It was a Sureño neighborhood that had several different neighborhoods because they were, there was a period of time in the 90s when they did a gang injunction and they got spread out. Now, VST was always close with VSL. They were probably the first two actually Southsider Vadios at that time. You know, if VST wasn't second, they were close. The story I'm about to tell is about a black Southsider, a black upstate Southsider. Okay, he got in VST around 1988, 1989. He grew up around Norteños, then Sureños, but really never tapped into one barrio yet or started gangbanging. He became close with a lot of individuals from VST, and around 1988-89, he got jumped in and became a Southsider. Okay, now, at that time, like I discussed, the upstate Southsiders, which, like I said, they didn't use that name, they weren't looked at equally or with respect from a lot of individuals from down south. Let's just keep it 100. A lot of people looked at them as inferior individuals. They were mistreated. They were utilized. They were talked bad upon. These are all facts. Now, every once in a while, there would be one that was treated with the respect that maybe he had earned it and went to above and beyond. But the level of respect that some of these Southsiders that are in prison today from Saho and other areas, they had to earn that, man. They weren't being treated right. Let's keep it 100. Now, there was a black Southsider, like I said, Mike Tyson. You know what I'm saying? That was a nickname they gave him. Now, apparently, at that time, when you were a Southsider in the 80s and 90s in the prison system, the EME did not want to hear any Southsider from San Jose claim that they were from San Jose. They were forbidden to even say that. Okay? Now, on top of that, you have a black upstate Southsider. So he was basically whacked because he was black and he was from upstate as a Southsider in San Jose. It took 4 dudes to move on him. Now, he was only doing 7 years for an assault. Okay? 7 years. He barely became a Southsider. He wasn't one maybe for like 16 months. And there was two emeros on the yard, I was told. One from 18th Street and I think one from Norwalk, right? And they did not like this individual. They did not feel like he represented them. They didn't look at him as a Southsider, and they took his life. They ended up sending 4 torpedoes on him. Okay, I don't know how many knives were used. I don't know how many stabbings. I don't know if they got arrested or whatnot, right? But it's a sad situation, right? He barely got in the hood, became a Southsider, ready to represent it in enemy fucking lines, right? I mean, he was ready to go against even his friends because he grew up around Norteños too. And they took his life, man. And that's the changes that you've seen, right? From all these years later, that, you know, the upstate Southsiders, you know, there was a change that happened like sometime in the 90s. In the early 80s, I was told that they weren't like the biceps that we've seen that ran rampant, I'm saying in the 90s, that came in the 80s and 90s and stuff. I was told that there was a time period in the late 90s that they started to clean house from those that were false represented as Southsiders, those that committed cowardice acts. They started changing certain names, in some of the barrios to where they wouldn't sound like they were a Bicep barrio. It would seem like they were more a Southsider barrio. And I think there was only two other hoods that came out that still were kind of maintaining that Southsider Bicep push. I'm going to say SPV and maybe a couple other ones, but other than that, they changed their whole program. And I think a lot of that has to do with why the Southsiders are deep and program the way that you see them programming today. They didn't program in the 90s. A lot of them that were with it were going to prison. And like I said, there was a lot of misled misfits out there, man. And it wasn't easy for these cats, man. And like I said, there were some dudes that were upstate Southsiders were straight cowards and weenies. A lot of them were. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. They used to run. They used to tell, they used to do all kinds of fucked up shit. But there was a few that were out there that were fucking with that action, man. And let's not forget that. And it's just that select few is why you still see Southsiders out there and up north today. Now, one thing I think that's important to recognize, right? I see dudes disrespect each other sometimes in the comments, chapete, buster, fucking scrapa, sewer rat. Man, let's keep it real, man. If you're going to disrespect your enemy and look at them as weak and soft and pussies, cowards, right? Then what does that say about you that you're doing battle with them? You get what I'm saying? I've always tried to show common courtesy and acknowledgement to my adversaries, to my foe, to the oppositions, because you know what? We're both playing the same game. Just one of us is trying to win. And in order, right, to have the ability to win against that next man, you better have the ability to show a little bit of respect towards that next man. You know what I'm saying? Let what happens in the streets, when the war's over, whatever, your time that war's over, leave it there. And I think people forget about that, man. Anyways, there's a lot more stories and histories that happen up north, man. And San Jose was pretty much one of the main, like, I think, areas, right, to where there was an abundance of individuals, and the Southsider hoods came out pretty strong there, man. Vickystown, a lot of those dudes became North Daniels. They were not originally Sureños as far as gang members or Southsiders. Their gang started down south, but they didn't represent that. And that had a lot to do with the separation of that hood over time, right? And there's Vado Pachuco Locals and all these other hoods, man, that had potential that they almost became Southsider hoods, right? But they didn't. Like I said, a lot of the influence from down south is what influenced a lot of up north, right? And it's a trip because a lot of the OG Southsiders, man, they have family members that are North Daniels, and I've tripped. I was having a conversation with one right from VSL and VST, and man, the acknowledgement is real, like the respect level. I'm gonna probably do a little bit more of a follow-up story about this individual, right? But he was only doing 7 years for assault, new to the hood, right? But he had a lot of love from the hood, man. He was one of those ones that pretty much got along with everybody for a while, but became a late bloomer. But he respected the Mexican Chicano culture. That was like, something that he believed in. There was dudes from San Jose back then that used to do that as well. Man, I remember there was a dude named Tito from the hoods. It's a couple other individuals. So it's not always, what race you are, what ethnicity or what nationality you are, right? It's where you're from. It's where your heart's at. If you believe in what you believe in and you get the support of your brothers or homies, man, you're going to rock the way you want to rock. And apparently these EME members weren't respecting that. And that's the unfortunate thing because there was a few 18th Street and different individuals from different hoods that were black Southsiders, right? And I'm pretty sure that they had their hard times and their struggles because there was probably those that wanted to distance themselves based upon their skin color. But to kill someone just for being in the South Side, I think this was pretty much a personal statement probably sent to the San Jose Southsiders because they wanted to set the trend, right? Wanted to put them in their place. I personally remember the Southsiders that were going to, San Quentin and other prisons with main lines in the 90s. I remember a couple of them turned biceps as soon as they hit the main line. And I remember some of the Southsiders weren't even fucking acknowledging some of these dudes that were from fucking other other cities that were Southsiders that were from small barrios when they hit the arts. A lot of them just straight went to BB. So the struggle has been real for a lot of these upstate cats, man. Let's just keep it real. With that said, man, look into the story, man. 4 dudes, man. 4-on-1, man, just to take him out. Sad situation, man, because I know he had a lot of love in his hood. With that said, I'm gone.